Hi, I'm Gabi. I'm an artist and comic creator. If you want to know more about my project, consider following me and stay tuned. Okay, so today I'm bringing you the first part of a series I call the Horror Zodiacs. Basically, it's just taking the zodiac signs and turning them into a monster or a horror movie. For the first one here, which is Aries, I got inspiration actually from the myth behind its constellation. For those of you who don't know, Aries' constellation actually takes form after the Golden Ram, which is a figure in Greek mythology. The Golden Ram was the son of Poseidon and a princess named Theophane. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Probably not. This story, just as like most of Greek mythology to be honest, is actually pretty disturbing because the reason why the Golden Ram is a ram is because Poseidon turned himself and Theophane into sheep and the Golden Ram was conceived while there were animals. So, as you can imagine, that wasn't very consensual. But the part that actually inspired me to make this creation is actually how the Golden Ram died and how it got to be a constellation, because actually what happened is that the Golden Ram rescued a couple of people that I'm not going to pronounce that name because holy shit, I will surely butcher it, but he helped these people escape and they basically sold him out and like gave him as a sacrifice, and he died, and then his fleece got taken away and ended up all over ancient Greece. So with this I decided going for like a vengeful spirit type of route, and I imagined this monster which is like basically the spirit of the Golden Ram who comes back to get back his fleece and get revenge for being killed. And I thought about this where he goes after everyone who wants to find the golden fleece. I imagine his signature killing style being that he runs after people and then charges against them and gores them and yips them away. To get a little bit more Aries in there, I thought about traits that I could relate to this monster that Aries have, and there are quite a few. Like for example, their aggressiveness. Like usually Aries are kind of aggressive and they are kind of impatient, and the monster runs after people, and it's also very energetic and resentful, and I feel like I did find stuff that I could put in him that relates him to the Aries sign besides the constellation. Lastly, I thought about how you could defeat this monster, and because I thought about this movie thing where he becomes a problem for people and for adventurers that encounter him, and the way you could defeat him or make him disappear is by giving him back his golden fleece, but obviously that's dangerous because he's gonna go after you. I guess I can imagine an ending to this hypothetical movie being that the hero of the movie gives the Golden Ram his fleece back and his spirit is freed, and everyone is fine except that some people die because it's a horror movie. So yeah, that's the Golden Ram. For some reason I just went for this noir movie type of style. I don't know why, but I feel like it looks cool. The second sign is Taurus. I feel like for this one in particular, I owe all Tauruses an apology because this thing is ugly as hell and also terrifying. But it's supposed to be terrifying. I would literally piss my pants if I saw this thing in a horror movie. I think this is one of my favorites. It's also the one that I put the most thought into so far. And the reason why is because for the other ones, I have based them off of legends or myths or stuff like that. But for this one, it's like 100% my imagination, and I named it The Clinger. Why, you may ask? Well, let me explain. So the plot that I imagined for this hypothetical movie is that the Clinger is this entity that exists underground. He attacks by dragging people underground, and he feeds on their bad memories or traumas. So the more you hold on to your past, the more vulnerable you're going to be to his attack. Now that I think about it, I may have actually taken a little bit of inspiration for this one from the book/movie It. Despite the fact that the Clinger is pretty different to Pennywise in a lot of things, I did take inspiration in the concept of having to face your fears and your traumas to defeat the monster and not be eaten by it, not be killed by it. You have to let go of the past, let go of the things that hurt you. I thought it was a funny idea, but also kind of an interesting concept. If to ultimately defeat the Clinger, you would have to trick him into looking at himself in a mirror, because at the end of the day, he's the one who struggles the most with letting go of his past. I imagine his origin story being that he was a person that had suffered a lot, and his grief was so big that he could never let it go. So maybe he died and his spirit could never be free because he was so consumed by his grief, by his pain, that he just stayed as this undead monster thingy that terrorizes other people for the same reason that he terrorizes himself. To be honest, I think Taurus was so far the one that I had the most difficulty coming up with. I wasn't very sure which direction I wanted to take this in. For other signs, I was like, yeah, you know what? I know what I want to do. But for this one, I thought about it a lot. One of the ideas that I had was relating it to the deadly sin of gluttony, because, you know, they are often portrayed as gluttons. And I did kind of take a little bit of that and used it as this feeding on people's traumas. This part would be, you know, representative of the gluttony part, and then you have the stubbornness and this difficulty to let go of the past and to move on. That is sometimes to a quality that Tauruses have, because they often are kind of conservative. So letting go of things and moving on can be quite difficult for them. Lastly, I know this is kind of obvious, but the Clinger, being a creature that lives underground, is a wink to the fact that Tauruses are earth signs. So yeah, in conclusion, I had a lot of fun making this thing, and I love how unsettling and ugly it is. I would really like to see the Clinger movie. So, moving on to Dear Gemini. I don't know why for this one I felt like going for this Tim Burton-ish style, but I'm really feeling it, and I really like how the whole aesthetic ties in with the actual argument for this imaginary movie. At first I didn't want to go for the obvious, but while I was doing research to see what I could do, I came across this myth of the doppelganger, which is where the term doppelganger actually comes from, and it was just too perfect. According to Wikipedia, in fiction and mythology, a doppelganger is often portrayed as a ghostly or paranormal phenomenon, and usually seen as an omen of bad luck. Despite the German word being the one most commonly associated with the myth, actually the concept of alter egos and double spirits has appeared in the folklore, myths, religious concepts, and traditions of many cultures throughout human history. If you know anything about zodiacs, I suppose you already realized what I meant when I said that this myth was just too perfect, because Geminis are actually known for having this two sides to them, these two personalities or two alter egos, even like an evil twin. So I thought, hey, what better way can there be to represent this duality in the Gemini sign than a character that experiences this apparition that looks a lot like the person but is not. I like to play with this idea of something that resembles a human a lot, like very closely, but it's not a human and there's something just off. I like it a lot how they use it on Coraline, for example, where the other parents have, like, they look exactly like her parents in the beginning. It's just the eyes, the button eyes, and that little thing, it's just very disturbing and very unsettling. Personally, out of the various tropes in horror, I find this one to be one of the scariest. I think there's something very powerful about taking something that you are very familiar with or that you feel safe with and tweaking it just a little bit so it's just the slightest bit off. I think it has to do with making you feel like you cannot trust or be safe in situations or with people or with things that you can usually trust and be safe in. For example, a horror movie that happens in the daylight. It's not exactly easy to achieve something truly scary with that, but if you do achieve it, I think it would be like one of the most terrifying things, because we are programmed to feel safe when we are in the light. The daylight usually represents safety. So when you take that away, you're not only being presented with a life-threatening situation, but you also have nowhere to escape. And the thing is that this is very disorienting. Usually in horror movies, you have the scary events happening at night or in a close-up place that doesn't let the light in. So adding light to the equation is something that goes against our instincts. From the beginnings of human history, we have associated night and darkness with danger, with things that we cannot see. We don't know what's out there, so naturally it's just very off-putting when this danger happens right where we can see it. I don't know if I exactly achieved it, but I was trying to go for this trope where you have this element that is familiar but there's something just off about it. In this case it would be the doppelganger, because it looks like her but it's not her. And now that I'm starting to dig deeper into the matter, I think that the reason why I chose or I felt like going for this Tim Burton-ish style is mostly because Tim Burton does have this vibe, especially in his animated movies, where his characters look and act a little bit off, and I think it goes very well with what I wanted to convey. So that was the doppelganger, inspired by the Gemini sign. Tell me what you think in the comments. So what you're seeing here is supposed to be the Cancer drawing. I inspired it in La Llorona. I don't really have much of an explanation here. I just went with the stereotype of Cancer being crybabies, and I don't know. It matched, okay? But my stupid ass forgot to record, so I don't have the footage. I'm sorry for that, but yeah, this is La Llorona. I'm sorry, Cancers, don't kill me. Well, so that concludes the Horror Zodiac series part 1. I'm gonna be uploading 2 more videos with the next 8 signs. You can also follow me for content about my projects, such as my comic. And thank you very much if you made it so far in the video. Here's my social media. You can also check the description for more info. And with that, I'm gonna see myself out. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day, week, and year. Peace